Hello Muggles, my name is Ashley Stormo and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be breaking down what makes the Netflix show The End of the Fucking World so unique and what writers can learn from it. Here's a little spoiler-free synopsis. The End of the Fucking World chronicles two 17-year-old weirdos. Alyssa wants to run away from her shit life and pulls James, a self-identified psychopath who kills small animals for fun, along with her on a quirky road trip. Little does she know he is planning her murder. When I finally got on board and dove into Stranger Things, I knew that I was watching something unlike anything I'd seen before, and I got the exact same feeling within the first few minutes of the show. With only 8 episodes, each about 20 minutes long, it's worth it for you to not spoil yourself any further, so please, if you have not seen the show yet, exit and go binge. Alright, on to spoiler territory. There are a lot of things about The End of the Fucking World that make it so likable. The color palette, the music, the costumes, the freaking editing. But I'm going to stick to things that screenwriters or creative writers of any kind can learn from the screenplay. First, straddling 2 genres. We've recently seen movies dabbling in the middle of 2 genres. This show has adapted the same approach. Is this a coming-of-age story, or is this a behind-the-scenes murder? The writers captivate you with 2 viewpoints to address these 2 potential outcomes. If we look at the story through Alyssa, it's a coming-of-age adventure where she comes head-to-head with some harsh realities. If we look at it from James, yeah, it's a murder plan. This strange mix is kind of like Dexter meets The Edge of 17, and it's weird and outlandish enough that you stick around because you're intrigued. There are so many formulaic movies where you know exactly what is going to happen, but with this show, while certain things you may have seen coming, it's worth waiting around to see just how our characters get there because you've never seen it orchestrated that way before. Another thing that writers can take from the show is the use of voiceovers. Our main characters are still getting to know one another, so what they say out loud doesn't always match with what they are thinking. Due to their unusual pairing, this is especially interesting to the audience to see what each character chooses to lie about, or what to omit, or what they're really thinking. By doing this, you're more pulled into the complexities of what they're going through and of what they're thinking. They're figuring themselves out individually, and they're also figuring out what they mean to one another. And you're along for the ride in a way that is more intimate than when there aren't voiceovers and when you're only hearing what they have to say to each other. Also, character development. Can we just talk about the character development of James? This poor young kid goes from thinking he's a psychopath to actually fulfilling that inner desire to kill someone like he wanted, which allows him to realize that he probably wasn't a psychopath. By the end, we see that he has learned to feel again, thanks to Alyssa. I feel like, in particular, his character development is so intriguing because in the first episode, you take him by his word. He says he's a psycho, and he shows you all these poor kitties and butterflies he's killed to back it up. And he shares with us his fantasies about murdering Alyssa. He has concrete details to back up his self-diagnosis. So for us to start off believing him and then to go along the ride and see him change, or rather realize he actually does have feelings, makes us more involved, as all good character development does. Alyssa also has character development, of course. Hers are slightly more muted and different, which is understandable. I mean, teenage angst versus realizing you're not clinically psychotic are on totally different levels, but they are equally important. The last quick little thing that I want to add is that all writers should really pay attention to the use of sub-characters. Oftentimes in coming-of-age films, adults are soulless black holes whose only ambitions are to stifle the creativity or the happiness of teenagers. This show did a great job of making you and me care about the supporting characters. Alyssa's mom, a problematic parental figure who ultimately cares about her daughter more than she lets on. James's dad, not quite the prick Alyssa calls him out to be, rather a sad widow. And with Alyssa's dad, we see him as a good guy at first, but then we realize he's kind of a sack of shit. The cops who are tracking them down, they have things going on in their own lives that they are juggling, which creates a bias towards their case. And even that kid at the gas station they held up had enough characterization that we didn't forget about his role by the end of the film. These supporting actors reminded us that all people are complex, that there is no small part. To close, I'd like to remind you that the dictionary definition of a psychopath is a person with a psychopathic personality which manifests as immoral and antisocial behavior.
I thought she could be interesting to kill, so I pretended to fall in love with her.
Lack of ability to love or establish meaningful personal relationships.
Being with Alyssa had started to make me feel things.
And failure to learn from experience.
I can't do it.
Are you crying?
No.
Thanks so much for watching. Let me know downstairs what your favorite moment in this series was and what you thought of the ending. Do you think that this show can keep its artistic integrity with a second season, or was one season enough? I'll see y'all on Sunday.